Welcome, curious minds. Today, we're stepping into some pretty dark corners. We're looking at 3 really unsettling stories.
Yeah, these are mysteries that, because of language barriers, maybe distance, they've stayed largely hidden outside their own countries.
Exactly, sort of region-locked tales, you could say. We're going to Malaysia, the Philippines, and India.
And these aren't just like standard mysteries. They're bizarre, deeply disturbing.
They really make you confront some unexpected aspects of human belief, maybe even human nature.
What's really striking, I think, is how these isolated cases often have elements that feel universally disturbing, things anyone would find chilling. But their specific settings, the local context, it adds these extra layers, makes them even more perplexing, maybe even more terrifying, because they feel so contained yet real.
Absolutely. Okay, so our first story, this one takes us to Malaysia. It's about the rise and, the spectacular fall of Mona Fandi.
Born Nur Mazna Ismail back in 1956.
Right. And from pretty early on, Mona, she wanted fame. She dreamed of being a pop star, even water ballet, apparently.
She married Mohammed Noor Afandi Abdul Rahman. He was a big fan, actually financed her album Diana.
Yeah, but it flopped. Her music career just didn't take off, didn't capture the public imagination like she'd hoped. So Mona, she didn't just give up, she pivoted dramatically.
And this pivot is just, wow. From pop singer to bomo.
Which is a local shaman, right?
Exactly. A traditional healer, sometimes dealing in, less savory magic. And this new path. Surprisingly, it worked for her. Financially, at least.
Yeah, it turned out to be incredibly lucrative. She built up this client base, offering, curses, lucky charms, even claims of life extension.
And not just anyone. We're talking powerful people, high-profile figures, reportedly even politicians from the ruling party.
So she's living this life of luxury cars, mansions, jewelry, but she still didn't have that nationwide fame she craved, that spotlight.
She was known, but only in certain circles. Not the household name she dreamed of being.
Okay, so then comes 1993. A Malaysian politician, Maslan Idris, approaches Mona.
He had ambitions, wanted to become chief minister.
And he believed Mona's black magic was the key. He offered her, get this, 2.5 million ringgit.
Which is roughly 600,000 US dollars. A massive amount.
Huge. He paid 500,000 ringgit up front, plus 10 land titles as collateral for the rest.
So Mona agrees. She proposes a 2-part plan for him.
First, a talisman. A magic cane and a headpiece, supposedly belonging to Indonesian President Sukarno, promised invincibility.
Invincibility, okay.
And second, a cleansing ritual at her home to purify his spirit, prepare him for power.
In Maslan, clearly a believer or maybe just desperate, he goes along with it.
He shows up at Mona's house in Rao Pahang. Mona's there, her husband Muhammad, and their assistant Jeremy Hassan.
The scene is set, right? Candles lit.
Yeah, Mona tells Maslan to lie down. She puts flowers on him, starts chanting to ward off spirits. Then she tells him, close your eyes, wait for money to fall from the sky.
Chilling phrase. Knowing what comes next.
Exactly. Because it wasn't money. Mona hands Jeremy an axe. And without warning, Jeremy just chops off Maslan's head.
So much for the invincibility talisman.
Right. Didn't work out too well. Then, Mona, her husband, and Jeremy, they dismember the body. 18 pieces.
18.
Skinned them. Buried most of it in a storeroom on the property. Some parts were apparently never recovered.
Which led to those really grim theories, didn't it? About ritual cannibalism.
Yeah, that they might have eaten parts as part of some shamanistic ritual. We don't know for sure, but the speculation is there. And after all this horror, they go shopping.
Unbelievable. Mona buys a Mercedes-Benz, gets a facelift, still chasing that pop star image, even then.
Well, Maslan's disappearance obviously gets noticed, but police have nothing, no leads for months until July.
That's when the assistant, Jeremy, gets picked up, right, on unrelated charges.
Exactly. And apparently, under the influence, he just spills everything, confesses the whole thing.
Leads them right to the storeroom.
Yep. To Maslan's remains, buried 6 feet deep under concrete. Mona and her husband were arrested immediately.
And the trial became this huge media sensation.
Oh, absolutely. Mona loved it. She became the most talked about woman in Malaysia, never hid her face from the cameras, always dressed up in these glamorous, colorful outfits, smiling, posing.
She even said something like, looks like I have many fans.
Yeah. In her mind, she'd finally made it. She was famous, just not how she originally planned.
It's that disconnect that's so disturbing. The performance of it all.
The trial itself was quite quick, actually. After about 2 months, the jury took just over an hour. Guilty. All 3 sentenced to death.
And Mona's reaction.
I'm happy and thank you to all Malaysians, left the courtroom smiling.
Just no remorse, no breaking the facade.
None. The day before the execution, they all requested KFC for their last meal. Mona saw her family one last time. Then, November 2nd, 2001, just before 6 a.m., all three were hanged.
And her final words.
Chilling. Aku takkan mati, which means I will never die. Reportedly completely calm. Even smiled when they put the black hood over her head.
It's hard to know what to make of that. Delusion. Defiance. Just pure performance right to the very end. It really sticks with you.
It really does. Okay, so let's move from Malaysia now. Our next case takes us to the Philippines. Cebu Island, 1997.
This is the story of the Chong Sisters. Marijoy, who was 21, and Jacqueline, 23.
Their story takes a horrific turn when they're abducted outside a shopping mall. A group of 7 men allegedly forced them into a van.
These men were Rowan Edlugian, Alberto Caño, Ariel Balansag, Josman Aznar, James Andrew, Roy James Antonio, and maybe the most well-known name now, Paco Larrañaga.
What happened next was brutal. Marijoy was later found dead, pushed into a ravine, her body discovered 2 days after the abduction.
But Jacqueline, she was never found. Still missing to this day.
All 7 men were arrested pretty quickly.
Yeah.
The trial started, and the prosecution had a star witness, Davidson Risha.
Rucha claimed he was actually with the group during the abduction. He testified against the others in exchange for immunity.
And he apparently made a good impression. Described as handsome, well-spoken, fluent in English, the public seemed to trust him.
His testimony was key. It led to all 7 being found guilty, sentenced to death. Seemed like case closed.
Seemed like it. But the convicted men, they never stopped claiming innocence. For years.
Their argument was that Russia was pressured, maybe coerced by the police, that the whole thing was some kind of setup, a cover-up.
They pointed to Russia's past, alleged gang connections, this supposed mantra he had. Do what the leader tells you to do.
And you had the split right, the parents of the accused men backing their sons, insisting on their innocence, while the Chong sisters' parents were absolutely convinced of their guilt.
It's already messy. But then, fast forward to 2018, over 20 years later, something truly bizarre happens.
Pictures surface online, on Facebook.
Posted by members of the Chong family themselves, including the sister's mother, Thelma.
And these photos show 2 women who look, well, incredibly similar to Marijoy and Jacqueline.
Uncannily similar. Scary resemblance, some said. And they appear to be alive, well, reportedly living in Canada.
This just throws the entire case into chaos, doesn't it?
Completely. Yeah. Massive doubt. People started questioning everything. Was the body found in the ravine really Marijoy? It was never formally identified through, say, DNA back then.
If those photos are them, it means they were never murdered. The whole conviction, the decades in prison for those men, it could all be based on a lie, a staged event.
And even before the photos, there were suspicions, whispers in the Philippines about this case.
Yeah, like during the trial, Russia, the main witness, he testified for days, but the defense was only allowed to cross-examine him for 30 minutes.
30 minutes. That's questionable, to say the least. And then there's Paco Larrañaga.
His alibi seemed incredibly strong.
Right. 45 witnesses swore he was hundreds of miles away in Quezon City, not Cebu, when the abduction happened. They had flight records, a security guard's logbook.
45 witnesses. Concrete evidence.
And the judge deemed it all irrelevant, just dismissed it. You can see why people started thinking cover-up.
Yeah, it looks really bad. It points to serious potential flaws in the justice system, or worse.
Paco Larrañaga did have one advantage, though. He had dual citizenship. Spanish.
Which ultimately changed his fate quite drastically.
Yeah. In 2009, after 12 years in a Filipino prison, he was transferred to Spain under a treaty. He's serving the rest of his sentence there, but as a third-degree inmate. He can even work outside the prison as a chef now.
What about the others?
Their death sentences were commuted eventually. 4 of them were actually released early for a time because they were young when convicted. But then President Duterte ordered them back to jail. He even fired the official who signed off on their release.
So, still imprisoned.
Yes. So now, more than 2 decades on, the Chong sisters case is still just a huge mess. Was it a terrible miscarriage of justice, some kind of conspiracy? Are the sisters actually alive in Canada?
Or are the photos just a case of very, very strong resemblance?
Yeah.
That possibility exists too.
It does, but the uncertainty, the doubt, it just hangs over everything. Really unsettling.
Deeply unsettling. Leaves you wondering about truth and justice, doesn't it?
It absolutely does. Okay, for our final story tonight, we're going to India, to Burari in Delhi. This happened more recently in 2018.
This involves the Chundawat family, A seemingly normal, respectable, middle-class family. 11 members living together.
There was the matriarch, Narayan Devi, 77 years old, her 2 sons, Bhavnesh and Lalit, their wives, Savita and Tina, a daughter, Pratibha, and 5 grandchildren.
They ran a couple of successful businesses, plywood and grocery. The grocery store was apparently quite central to the neighborhood.
Which is why, on the morning of July 1st, 2018, neighbors noticed something was wrong. The shop was still closed. Bhavnesh, the older son, was known for being meticulous, always opened on time.
So a family friend got concerned. Went over, found a door unlocked, and went inside.
And what he walked into was just unimaginable, a scene straight out of a nightmare.
10 bodies hanging in the hallway, in a sort of circular formation, almost like branches from the ceiling.
Hands tied behind their backs, eyes blindfolded, mouths taped shut, ears plugged with cotton wool, faces covered with cloth masks, and 5 stools were found nearby, underneath them.
But not 11 bodies hanging.
No. The matriarch, Narayan Devi, she was found dead on the floor in another room.
So the immediate questions for the police were just immense. Who could have done this? Why this bizarre ritualistic setup?
And why the difference? 10 hanging, 1 on the floor. What did all the coverings mean? The blindfolds, the tape, the cotton wool?
Autopsies came back. No signs of struggle. No external injuries suggesting foul play beyond the hanging.
Which created this intense confusion. Was it murder? Was it suicide? The stool suggested suicide, right?
But how? How do 10 people hang themselves after tying their own hands behind their backs and blindfolding and gagging themselves? It seems impossible.
Some reports even said some of their feet were still lightly touching the ground or the stools, and the coverings, the blindfolds, and masks, they were all cut from the same single bedsheet. Seemed almost spontaneous yet planned.
And then the cell phones. 8 family phones found taped up together, hidden in a drawer. Just another bizarre detail.
It really defied easy explanation. But the investigation took a sharp turn when police started learning more about the second son, Lalit, the 45-year-old found hanging.
He'd been acting strangely, hadn't he? For quite some time.
Yeah, claiming his father, who had died years earlier, was appearing to him, possessing him even, speaking through him.
This led investigators to search his belongings more closely.
And they found them. 11 diaries, notebooks, belonging to Lalit, spanning 11 years.
And this is where the horrifying truth started to emerge.
These diaries detailed Lalit's obsession, an obsession with moksha, salvation, and with rituals he believed would summon the spirit of his dead father.
And he hadn't just kept this to himself. He'd convinced the entire family, all 10 others.
The diaries contained detailed instructions, how they should all tie their hands, cover their faces, plug their ears for this specific ritual, this kriya, the final act to meet the patriarch's spirit.
It even explained why Narayan Devi, the grandmother, would be on the floor. She couldn't stand for long periods, so she'd perform the ritual lying down.
And the scene police found, it matched the diary entries. Exactly. The way they were bound, the arrangement. It became chillingly clear.
They did this to themselves, following Lali's instructions, believing his delusion.
They planned it secretly for a long time. Neighbors had no idea, saw them as a normal, happy family.
The shared psychosis aspect is just staggering on this scale. Folia famille, essentially. One person's delusion infecting an entire group.
But here's perhaps the most haunting detail. Lalit's notes explicitly said, everyone will tie their own hands, and when the kriya is done, then everyone will help each other untie their hands.
They didn't expect to die.
No. He even had notes about doing the ritual again a week later for another relative's good fortune. One of the victims, Priyanka, was engaged. Her wedding was planned for the next week.
They had future plans. They thought this was a step towards something better, guided by the patriarch's spirit, channeled through Lalit. Not the end.
Investigators concluded it was a tragic case of shared psychotic disorder. Lalit's delusions became the family's reality. But even with all the evidence, some people still find it hard to believe. They look for an outside culprit.
Understandable, perhaps, given the sheer scale and horror of it. But without any other leads, any other motive, the diary seems to provide the terrible answer.
A deeply, deeply disturbing conclusion.
Truly, a profound look at belief, delusion, and family dynamics gone tragically wrong.
So that brings us to the end of our deep dive today. 3 incredibly unsettling stories, kind of locked away by distance and language.
From Mona Fandi's deadly ambition in Malaysia
to the lingering, profound